This is On Air with EUFOREA.
Hello, Ian. Nice to meet after this first European training course in biologics for asthma and CRSwNP, which has been a very exhausting day. And thanks for accepting the invitation to provide us with some feedback on your impressions of this European biologics training course and what you have remembered as being the highlights of today's meeting here in Brussels on the 1st of March 2024. So please, Ian, would be great to have your impression on what you think were the novelties and how shared knowledge could help patient care.
Well, I've had a great time. So thank you, Peter, for putting this meeting together. I thought it was very successful, very interesting. This is, it's a hot area. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of new thinking. And it's always really exciting to meet with people who have a lot of knowledge in the area and try and get a feel for where we're heading. Because we're certainly heading in very interesting directions. I've been in this game a long time. You have as well. But there's a real sense that we have maybe a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make big changes in the right direction. And I always get that sense when we talk about where we are in upper and lower airways disease. I mean, it's also great fun to meet you ENT guys, because I actually think ENT surgeons and pulmonologists do think about things in similar ways. We often get on very well. We're clearly dealing with the same patient groups from a slightly different angle. I'm interested in the upper airway. I suspect you're slightly interested in the lower airway as well. So we've got a lot to learn from each other. And I thought that aspect worked very well.
Well, I couldn't agree more. In the context of respiratory allergies, we have always tried to collaborate more and closer with our colleagues from the pulmonology department. And despite this attempt going on for more than 30 years, we were not so successful. And now, since we have biologics available, this has really created a revolution of care, also a revolution in the multidisciplinarity of approach of patients with asthma, CRS, and maybe also COPD. So I also, from a personal perspective, feel very thrilled by being able to collaborate with intelligent people like the pulmonologist, because you're more into the mechanisms of disease more often than ENT doctors, which are also surgeons, and try to fix the problem in a one-time intervention, which unfortunately is not always the case. So I'm so thrilled by this collaboration, and also by having you here in this panel of experts sharing knowledge at the time of a EUFOREA event. So I'm very excited.
Well, I hope you do it again. I will certainly be very interested in coming. It's such a rapidly moving field that, we do need to meet regularly. I leave this meeting today with loads of ideas. And, there are a lot of opportunities for us to push the field forward. So, I think this sort of event, and of course, since COVID, we've had much less of this, but it's hugely important. I mean, we both work in universities, which are fundamentally ideas factories. I mean, that's what we do. We're in the ideas generation game. And how do you get good ideas? Well, I think you get good ideas by talking to like-minded people who've got views and opinions, looking at new data, and speculating about where we might be able to get. So I'm very privileged to be invited to this sort of meeting, and I think it's great for my ideas generation business, which is really where I'm trying to be. Yeah.
This is, of course, a great honor and privilege of having you here. I would just like to know, what do you take home as key messages from this meeting, or what did you consider of particular value for your practice or future research ambitions? Was there any particular topic?
The big take-home for me is finding the right patient for treatment at the right time. And I think we're increasingly focused on the right time. We know who responds well to treatment. We've got good predictive biomarkers. You've got good demographic features that you can look for, and some biomarkers. But what we tend to do is wait for the clinical condition to get critical patients to get irreparably damaged and we try and rescue things late, we all recognize that we have big impact if we get in earlier in the right patient. So we predict and prevent is very much the sort of catchphrase, I think, and that would be what I take away from today's meeting. A sense that you guys are very good at identifying the high-risk CRSNP patient. We're getting increasingly confident that we can recognize the high-risk asthma patient. What we need to do now is show there's value in intervening early in these people and we prevent downstream problems, which we all think we probably will.
No, wonderful. I think these are key statements and that also provide the full EUFOREA team with the ambition to build further on the initiatives and try to move forward in the field of implementing optimal care in daily practice, including prevention. And prevention is not only primary prevention, but also secondary and tertiary prevention, preventing irreversible damage to the tissues, as you nicely stated in your lectures, which are actually wonderful. And I think if we look at the health economic considerations and also value-based healthcare, I think timely treatment, preventing irreversible damage and chronicity of disease is the way forward. So yeah, there is still a long way to go. There's so many research questions.
We have to do the studies, we have to demonstrate that, prove it and present the findings to payers. But I suspect, as you imply, payers will be quite receptive to this argument.
Payers indeed, but if we go to health policy makers, it's very hard to convince them about the need for prevention, the need for timely treatment. Quite often when this treatment is more expensive than anti-inflammatory treatment, it's not always easy to convince them to go into that path. But anyhow, we can only do our best. We can only advocate for our patients and join forces with all specialists and top pulmonologists like you. So I think we still have a huge future and lots of ambitions in order to really meet the unmet needs of so many patients and prevent hospitalizations, acute exacerbations, and irreversible damage. Before ending this podcast session on the European Biologics training course, which was held on the 1st of March 2024 in Brussels, I would like to have a final statement of yours with the impression and how you would encourage the EUFOREA team to continue or do better in the future.
Well, Peter, thank you to you and the excellent team for putting on such a successful meeting. I really enjoyed it. Great to meet people that I don't usually meet and interact with and to learn from them. I'll leave here with tons of ideas. But also, I'm determined to persuade you to do this again. I think this should be a regular meeting. I hope it is.
That's a wonderful compliment. We thank you so much for the honor and for having accepted the invitation to join, not only at the training course, but also for the podcast series. So thank you very much, Professor Pavord from Oxford, UK.
Pleasure.
This was brought to you by EUFOREA, inspiring the future of respiratory care. This podcast was supported by an unrestricted educational grant from Sanofi Regeneron.